What up, Dokkanners? The JP data download that dropped last night has some very interesting pieces of data that has a lot to do with the 8-year anniversary. So in today's video, I wanted to discuss these new concepts and new mechanics that could be coming to the game very, very soon. Right now, the data is in its most pure raw form, so we are still trying to make sense of what is going on here. But regardless of how little we know, I still wanted to make this video to talk about it because there are some very interesting things that could be coming up on the horizon. Obviously, this is a global focused channel, but I still do talk about some big news on JP, and I will continue to do so, especially for the 8-year anniversary, as this is the next goal for a lot of global players. So the more you know, the better off you're going to be. But like I said, there's a lot of unrefined, very pure raw data here. So not everything is going to be totally sensible as of right now. Eventually we will know what these things do, because even though it's very complex and, you know, abstract now, they're not going to keep it this way. It's not going to be like this when the actual new units come out, the new mechanics come out. They wouldn't want to confuse the player base, because this is not a game for computer science majors. This is a game for people ranging from age, was it 13 or 15, all the way till whatever age. So they got to make it simple, and they got to make it easy and intuitive to understand. So let's just go over everything that is in here, and I'll try to make sense of what I've been told. Nothing in here is in stone, so don't take any of this as you know, gospel. Take this all with an extremely huge grain of salt, or I guess a million grains of salt. So without further ado, let's jump in. Shout out to Proton. Proton also kind of helped put things into perspective for me, so maybe this could be a little bit easier to understand with the Proton explanation. And if I miss anything, I will provide extra explanation in the pinned comment, or Proton might also help out. So let's talk about the 3 new things that are coming to Dokkan Battle. 3 skills: the standby skill, the charge skill, and the finisher skill. These are 3 separate things that are going to be coming in the new anniversary, or in this new mechanic setup altogether. So let's start by talking about the standby skill. Let me actually scroll down to the some of the new assets here. So yeah, we got some new assets. We got this new gauge in here. So the standby skill is basically an active skill. It is an active skill, but it is the reverse. So the active skill is the simple animation where you've got this arrow pointing up. Once your conditions are met, the character will glow. You swipe up, and then boom, you activate your active skill, which is cool. The standby skill is literally the opposite of that. The arrow is pointing down, it's color-coded blue, and you would swipe down instead of up. So basically, it's like a second active skill. Now, in terms of activation conditions, could it be the same? Could it be completely different? We don't know exactly, but I would imagine that because it's named differently, it's color-coded differently, it is meant to be something different. And I think the key difference will be the barrier of entry. If for an active skill, character has to have 50% health or lower, turn 5, this and that, all sorts of different things that have to occur for the active skill to be doable. I feel like for the standby skill, it's going to always be available, but it's going to be much less effective than the active skill, I think. So basically, this is going to weaponize a character even further with 2 means of action outside of the actual super attack, which could be cool. Could be a nice strategic enhancement for certain units. We'll have to wait and see. There is no gauge associated with the standby skill, and the standby skill also appears to be a transformation, because there's apparently a transformation label attached to this whatever standby skill. So this is the little label here, and yeah, none of these gauges apply to the standby skill. So that's all we know for right now. As I said, if there's more information that comes in, I will let you guys know. But this is all that I know right now. I'm trying to make this as simple as I can to explain it to you. Now, the next one I think is actually kind of neat, and that is the charge skill. Now, from what I understand, the charge skill is equivalent to a power gauge in Marvel vs. Capcom, or Street Fighter, or Dragon Ball FighterZ. The little gauge that you see at the bottom here that can go from 1 to 7. The higher the level, the more potent your like extra attack is. That's basically what I'm led to believe the charge skill is all about. The charge skill is basically like a mini Dokkan gauge, in the sense that if you pick up key spheres, you will add progression to the charge skill. It is still unclear whether or not the same type bonus will apply like it does to the Dokkan gauge. I would imagine it should be the same. But regardless, once the charge skill fully fills up in the gauge, then I think that's where you execute the finisher skill. Now, I don't know for sure. Again, none of this is set in stone, but I think that's how this works. So it's basically just this. You land combos, you do this, you do that, you know, you're very productive in the battle, and then you will be rewarded with these like extra free bursts of attacks, which is kind of neat. So those are like the 3 new skills that are going to be coming. There was also some talk about maybe like the enemy having guard now, which if that is the case, I couldn't actually find the tweet or the slide for it, But if that is actually the case, that would be pretty neat, because that would once again kind of re-spark the critical hidden potential and provide a whole lot more value. Because if guard becomes a thing across enemies, then additional is no longer the way to be effective. I mean, it is, because it'll help you, but critical helps you against the enemy. And then dodge, of course, helps in any situation where you can dodge. So I think that if that ends up happening, that would also prevent any, I mean, that would also lessen the need to, I don't know, like make the events 10 times harder by multiplying the numbers by 2, you know? Like just simply adding a guard mechanic will make the enemies a whole lot more resilient, and therefore you will have to rely on more of a critical hit build to actually pierce through some of that damage. So that's cool. I think that's going to be a thing. Also, all this code you're looking at, don't worry about any of this. This is like going over attack calculation, the order in which calculations occur. Active skill at the top. Link skills takes place after the leader skill. Special skill, all sorts of different things. This is just what data miners do, folks. So, you know, they have to do it so that you don't have to, and they bring us all the info. But this is, you know, this is all crazy stuff. Kind of going back to basics here. Seems like standby skills are activated like active skills. Looks like they are blue. You swipe down instead of up. Major but incomplete addition to the JP Dokkan version 5.9.0. And then they also, Thieving 6 also says this. So passive skills can now be more complicated. Before, Dokkan was limited to 3 customizable parameters. Now they have 4. So by 3 customizable parameters, these were basically key, attack, and defense. Example, a unit's passive. Let me actually pull it up here. So one parameter is right here. The passive provides key plus 5. That's one dimension. All right, attack plus 100%. That's another dimension, another parameter right there. Defense plus 100. So these 3 stat lines are basically the ones that we are tweaking around with various passives. These are the 3 parameters that we've been using so far that have been adjusted accordingly. According to this by Thieving 6, now there will be a 4th parameter that is involved in the passive. So for example, assuming my theory comes to pass, key plus 5, attack and defense plus 100%, plus 20% to your charge gauge at the start of the turn. Something like that. Starting from the first turn in the start of battle, for the next 3 turns, gains key plus 2, attack plus 20%, defense plus 50%, and charge skill plus 25%. You know, something like that. I feel like that is going to be like the logical 4th step in adding the next parameter, but we'll have to wait and see. Don't worry about all this stuff. Don't let this stuff confuse you. All of this is just data in its purest, most raw form, like I said. So don't be intimidated by all that. So that is going to obviously make the unit's kit a whole lot more complex, because with a brand new, you know, degree or dimension to worry about, that will add more brain power to the equation. This is the transformation label for the blue, or what is it, the standby skill, whatever. And that's pretty much it. So then these are all of the animations. I don't think there's anything else. Yeah, there's really nothing else to mention here. So that's kind of all that we know right now. As I said, this is still developing. So if none of this makes any sense, well, I appreciate you watching the video. I appreciate you supporting the channel, because that means a lot to me. And we will obviously find out more by next week. The 21st of January is going to be when we receive the live stream event, the special fan meetup. So when that happens, we will probably get to see what the units are going to be. We might even get a little bit of insight into what the new mechanics are in a more digestible detail, instead of all of this nonsense here. Because I mean, look at all this. Really? You're going to be sitting here reading all this? Really? Background music ID, special view ID. I mean, you want to look at this, for crying out loud? This is Python, man. There's some crazy Python going on here. Attack calculation. Row 1 all the way down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I can't even count that high. That's a lot of stuff. All right. So if you don't get it, it's fine. We'll find out later. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like down below. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about all of this stuff that I just talked about? Does it sound like a bunch of stuff? Does it sound remotely interesting to you? What do you think about having a secondary active skill? What do you think about having a new charge mechanic that's similar to a Dragon Ball FighterZ, where over time you gain enough? It's like a limit break, man. It's like Final Fantasy. You get a little limit break attack and get 2 extra damage. What do you think about all that? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Also, be sure to subscribe for more dope content in the future, and click the notification bell so that you let you know I want to see more of my stuff. Do it. Thanks again. Stay tuned, and always remember to be confused responsibly, because I'm very confused. I don't even know what the heck I just said. What were we talking